This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 225. This week, Brad and I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween, and we cover the brand new David S. Pumpkins Halloween special.
But that dumpy pumpkin was actually the best.
Kevin, what's happening?
For that dumpy pumpkin came with a guest.
How's it hanging? I'm David Pumpkins. Any questions?
Who?
I'm David Pumpkins, man.
Are you a ghost or what are you?
My own thing. And since you picked the magic pumpkin, I'm yours for Halloween.
What? Fire on!
The day just keeps getting better. Ah, boy.
I'm ready.
Man, where is that kid?
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the weekly cartoon podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That is, of course, this show. Wanted to thank you once again for joining us this week to talk about our cartoons. It's a special episode this week that Tuesday happens to also be Halloween, so happy Halloween to everybody listening today. And if you listen tomorrow, well, you know what? You missed it, but I said it anyway. I wish you a happy Halloween. That's all you get. That's all I got today. I'm Jake Williams, but I brought along my good buddy Brad Shamalusi, who's back after a few weeks away in Europe. What's up, man?
Yeah, I was gonna boo and scare everyone, but I laughed with the Halloween comment, so it kind of threw it all off there.
Yeah, now they know you're here.
Yeah, good to be back. No one knows, they didn't miss an episode, but yeah, I was traveling after you were traveling, so yeah, I think we're finally done until Christmas, and then we do it all again.
Yeah, until it gets crazy wacky again. But the trip was good.
Yeah, I was eating lots of pizza and pasta in Italy, and we were in Rome or Istanbul in Turkey for a little bit. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Dang, man. Yeah. Did you get any cartoons in at all while you were gone? Any downtime?
No, because unless you have good phone service, every Wi-Fi we were at, whether it was an Airbnb, a hotel, a bar, was terrible. The only place that had good Wi-Fi was Brewdog. The brewery. They have all these brew pubs around the world. Mm-hmm. They had the fastest internet, and I think we stayed there. We went there a couple times just to upload photos and check on things because we're oh my god, this is normal internet. This is amazing. You can post a Snapchat video and not have to wait 2 minutes for it to upload.
I love that you had to plan out that you were going to go to a place because it has the good internet. That's really not an American problem, especially in metro areas.
Mm-hmm. And every bar and restaurant you go has Wi-Fi for you to use because I think it became a thing where you have to have Wi-Fi, otherwise no one's going to come to your restaurant.
Interesting. People want to be able to, people want to be able to check their stuff or upload their stuff or something.
Mm-hmm. Or figure out where they need to go to next. Look at the maps, because if you don't have a data plan and those international minutes and megabytes go away fast. So.
Right. Yeah. Dang, man.
Get a SIM card, but we didn't do that.
That's crazy. I can't ever think of that.
No cartoons got watched because I could barely load any videos.
Oh man, that sucks. Well, speaking of some of the food you were eating, you were telling me a story pre-show, and I thought it'd be fun to share with people that has to actually do with pizza and sort of the influence of cartoons in Turkey, right?
Yeah, so in Turkey or in Istanbul, when we got there, we did a night tour, and we had a guide. It was my wife and I and the guide, so it was almost like a friend showing you around their hometown. So he took us around for a few hours. At one point, we were riding the train, and we noticed a bunch of Burger Kings, and we mentioned, oh, there's a lot of Burger Kings here. And then he just kind of talking about fast food in Istanbul, and he mentioned when Pizza Hut and Domino's first came over there, they like failed. They did not work out because they already had pizza. They had Turkish pizza, which if you've ever had it, it's like this thin bread, almost like cracker thing, usually with like ground meat on it or lamb, and it's like it's much smaller and just like quicker bites. It's not like a big 12 14-inch pizza that in a circle or anything. So those chains didn't work out, but they did come back once Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started to air.
Oh, really?
And kids were watching this, and they saw these turtles eating pizza out of a cardboard box. They'd open it up. It's a triangle dripping with cheese, and they eat pizza all the time because they're in New York and pizza's a big thing there. But
yeah,
just getting it in the cardboard box and taking it home was enough for the kids to tell their parents, no, I don't want that. I want what the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are eating.
Of course.
And that's how Pizza and Domino's kind of like grabbed a foothold there. I don't think they weren't like that big where we saw them all over the place, but they actually like are enough of a business now. So that's kind of nuts. And
like the idea of American pizza is now like a cuisine there in a way.
Right, which then it got me thinking, I'm going to have to ask my mom or aunt or uncle or something like that about how, like, was pizza that big of a thing? Did you order pizza and take it home when you guys were kids?
Yeah.
Or did that strictly happen in, like, the 80s as a result of maybe the Turtles and just Pizza Hut and Domino's kind of, like, picking up steam and, chain or fast food kind of just becoming a staple of, like, the late 70s, 80s culture.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I also always think of pizza as like the absolute easiest option to grab for dinner for multiple people, right? Like you just kind of pick some toppings, it's all there, and you just you don't need much more. And I'd be interested to see even like early pizza like chain advertising of like, oh, don't have time to make dinner, blah, 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 order it. Like, what else could have caused it? But yeah, man, Turtles, we're calling it here. Turtles revolutionized other nations' desire to eat our cheesy American pizza.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Set out to advertise toys, ended up revolutionizing pizza chains. Who knew?
Yeah, it starts to make you think just how powerful marketing is, and just repeating this and seeing the images are so strong for people. Just it's nuts.
You think, yeah, but like if they made a Turtles cartoon these days, which they have made new ones, and they had like Turkish style pizza, do you think kids would be like, ew, gross, I don't want that. I want that other old pizza they used to have. That pizza was way better.
I don't know. Maybe they're eating like giant sub sandwiches now, or like the new Street Sharks come out and they're like, subs, man, we're all about these sub sandwiches.
Yeah. But like they have to wait.
Sushi,
yeah. They're like, I'm really into these toasted subs, and they have the scene where they go wait for it because it takes forever to get through the little toaster thing, and they're like, all right, well, we'll save the day in a minute, but I got to get my roast beef. Yeah, weird.
Yeah,
We've just invented new ways to market in cartoons.
That's why I wonder if ramen has become such a big thing, because like Asian anime is it's very popular with like a lot of kids, especially as we grew up, and now you can easily get it more. So we see so much more ramen restaurants, especially here in Chicago. So
okay,
I wonder if that had an influence.
Yeah, I was thinking, and I think even like ramen is an option for, first of all, to me, ramen was always the 15-cent, like the college food or like high school food, when my parents would just buy that because they're like, first of all, it's inexpensive. Secondly, if you need to feed yourself and we're not home on time, like just, how to make this.
Right, and it can last forever.
Right. But the idea of ramen is like more of a delicacy, like the actual real ramen with good stuff in it for you and whatever, $15 a bowl in Chicago or something, like that's a new thing to me, where it's like a delicacy I would actually go out and do to like our age group. So I wonder what brought that on. That's weird. It makes you start thinking like, what are all the things? What are all the reasons? Why are there so many donut shops? Why do I care about that now?
Yeah.
It makes my head hurt. We're just going to watch cartoons instead.
Yeah, there we go.
Speaking of cartoons, small bit of news. Anybody who's following any Cartoon Network stuff, I don't know if this was announced or not, or people knew this was happening, but it sounds like brand new episodes of Steven Universe are coming in just a few short weeks. And it actually advertised it as being on the CN app. So obviously, I got to imagine there's still a TV deal in place. Like I'm sure their channel gets tons of traffic. So it'll probably be on whatever normal airtime that it would be. But sounds like if you have the app and that's the way you consume Steven Universe, I want to say November 10th. But if not, it's just within the next 2 weeks. So more episodes of that, which is pretty cool. But this week, since it is Halloween, figured we'd do literally, I got to say, I don't think there's any newer Halloween special out right now than the David S. Pumpkins animated Halloween special. Something that nobody asked for and nobody ever wanted, but here it is. We're going to talk about it today. So what can we say about the background, if there really is much about David S. Pumpkins and his Halloween special? Brad, you're familiar with David S. Pumpkins, the character, correct?
Yeah, I saw the Seinfeld skit, or not Seinfeld, the Saturday Night Live skit from last year.
Last year.
I know you found it very funny. I was just mildly amused by it, and also I'm not a big Saturday Night Live fan, so yeah, I didn't really.
Yeah, there's definitely, I can definitely say, just speaking on the Saturday Night Live fan kind of bit, I didn't grow up watching that show, but somebody like my wife, there's definitely fans who, I think her family watched it a lot. So there's skits that they all remember that are the classics. And relatively recently, I don't think there's been many skits that break that sort of pop culture general bounds. But David S. Pumpkins kind of did that in a weird way. And the strangest thing is, it's a weirdly charming skit. I guess to run down what the original David S. Pumpkins skit was. The character of David S. Pumpkins is played by Tom Hanks, and he's in a full pumpkin print suit, which is now a Halloween costume officially. It was last year too, and this aired around I think Halloween last year. And he just says, "I'm David Pumpkins. Any questions?" That's it. The whole point of the skit is that this couple is in the 100 floors of Frights elevator, and they keep going up and stopping on different floors, a la a haunted house type of deal, where every floor has a different fright on it, right? So there's one of the actresses has a chainsaw and says she's gonna cut off your head. Another person's a dead ghost bride kind of person, cliches. But then you get to a floor with just awkwardly weird Tom Hanks in a pumpkin suit with two dancing skeletons and a quirky theme song, and the couple basically keeps having to ask, yeah, so what's he all about? I get the cut your head off chainsaw lady, I get the dead bride, but David Pumpkins? So to me, it was always a skit that is kind of quirky, weirdly charming, I think because Tom Hanks is one of those guys that seems pretty universally liked, and I feel like he just went with it, is the vibe I get. A guy that's won Oscars, I'm pretty sure, just was yeah, I'll put a pumpkin suit on and just say these 2 or 3 lines, and those are catchphrases. So it's a weirdly charming skit that basically both gave our reviews of it there. Some people think it's hilarious. I know our buddy Stark, who's been on the show before, absolutely loves it. Can't get enough of it. And it's kind of weird. And then that caught fire. And so SNL, this was actually produced by Lorne Michaels, I think creator or runner or showrunner of SNL. They decided to create a full half-hour special dedicated to David S. Pumpkins.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So here it is. Let's talk about the special. Basically, what people were assuming was it would give a little bit more backstory into who David S. Pumpkins is, because all we know is that he says, "I'm David Pumpkins. Any questions? How's it hanging?" He's got a few catchphrases. What can we do to flesh out this character some more? And I guess let's dive into it, right? So the special starts. I was getting a vibe from this much like, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" kind of thing. They were sort of trying to set up this special to be that David S. Pumpkins is the magical being that you would associate at Halloween, much like you would Santa Claus at Christmas. Not that he necessarily brings gifts to kids, but that he's just got magic powers, and that's about when he comes around.
Right, yeah.
So,
but what are those magic powers?
Yeah, he's kind of the worst magic power. If he were one of, what was that movie? Jack Frost, the animated film, where it was Mother Nature and Santa and Mr. Sandman, like all the like mythical beings together with powers, David Pumpkin sucks compared to these guys. So the story starts off with a man sitting on his porch, and it's about Halloween time, and he's remembering a story all those years ago, all the while rhyming while he's telling the story about the year he met the magical person known as David S. Pumpkins, and that's what he thinks about every single Halloween. It should be noted that this narrator, the guy narrating the entire thing, is Peter Dinklage, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
And then we cut to basically a flashback of him telling the story of when he met David S. Pumpkins. This is back when he was 11 years old, and it was a Halloween where it sets it up much like many of the, I want to say many of the Halloween shows, because I keep thinking of shows like Hocus Pocus, movies like Hocus Pocus, where like, oh, there's the boy who likes a girl in town, but he's kind of nervous because he's pretty young, and then there's the older boys who are like bullies, and you don't want him to see your costume and see you trick-or-treating because you're a grown-up kid now, so you don't want to, be seen with your little sister. I think it's actually Hocus Pocus. This literally is an animated version a little bit.
I think it's just all of them. I don't. Yeah.
So what's interesting is that it starts off where you kind of meet these characters. You meet these three brothers who are bullies, and they make fun of him for basically liking a girl, which is kind of stupid. So while the show is while the animated special is sort of trying to hit those like marks that you would of the cliche kind of like family sort of story, it also knows exactly what it's doing, and it's very aware of itself. So for instance, at one point, the bullies make fun of him and tell him all these bad things. He's going to get beat up or something. And then as they're driving off or biking off on their cool bikes, the main character here, all he can muster is cool bikes, guys. Like, he was going to say something tough, and then he just says, hey, cool bikes.
Yeah, like, thanks, nerd.
Yeah.
Better stay home tonight, Kevin, or else Raincoat Man might come out and get you. Gabe, don't ring your bike bell. Doesn't go with our vibe.
Anyway, Kevin, smell you later.
Hey, Ditmeyers. Cool bikes.
Thanks? Loser!
Hey, what did I just say about the bike bell?
But what happens is when we finally meet David S. Pumpkins here is he's going with his sister to go pick out a pumpkin for Halloween. Typically you would carve a pumpkin around this time of year. And there's like all these great pumpkins to choose from, and his sister chooses the dirtiest, oldest, moldy pumpkin she possibly can. But what happens is, apparently, when you touch this pumpkin, it is the most magical pumpkin ever, and out spawns an elevator, much like the skit from last year. This elevator pops up, and out comes David Pumpkins and his dancing skeletons, and he answers 0 questions about who he is or what he's all about.
Yeah, the theme song of him is pretty good, He's like, I came from a mom and dad. I once looked different, and now I look different. Yeah.
Yeah. In the past, I was in the past. Like he has a whole song that would be set up as the cliche would be to describe who this character is, what he's all about, and now what he's going to bring to these kids in the story. Nope. It's literally a backstory that is Dr. Generic, like up the wazoo. Like all he can say is things that are obvious. I came from a mom and dad. I used to be a person. Now I'm still a person. Like it was super weird.
Who am I?
David Pumpkins. David Pumpkins.
When I was born, I was a baby to my mother, who was my mom. But the father I had, well, he was my dad. And I come from the place where I'm from.
Yes, he comes from the place where he's from.
So right off the bat, we're not really sure what's going on, but we do get the impression that he's magical. And so he encourages them that, hey, I'm going to go trick-or-treating with you guys, basically. Let's get in my magic pumpkin car, which is a giant strawberry. Like, I feel like it was a strawberry just to be weird, right? Like there was no reason.
There was going to be a pumpkin, and then someone's like, that's just kind of lame. Of course it's going to be a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Should we just make it something else? And they're like, well, let's make it a banana. I'm like, oh, but what if it's a strawberry and we still cut a face on it? Like, oh, yeah, for sure. Why not?
Okay. Like, unreasonable, like, unnecessary detail, but whatever. It's a strawberry car. They go home. Once they get home, the two kids and David S. Pumpkins and the two skeletons are there with them. The mom is rushing around the house. She's not sure when Dad's going to be home. She's got to go into work. She appears to be a doctor or a lawyer or something, and something got brought up. So while she's running their house, she sees David S. Pumpkins and says, "Oh, great, you brought your friends and their kids. Like, that's great. I love when parents dress up. Go parents," or something like. Super weird. But David S. Pumpkins decides, hey, you got to go trick-or-treating with your sister. She really wants to go. His little sister's costume, she says, I want to be Abraham Lincoln and a taco. Sure. Okay. And then
most of this is just weird to be weird. That's what you have to realize. That's what you quickly realize. So.
Yeah. Even when they're like running you through the actual like scenarios of what's happening and sort of the arc of this story, sometimes things just happen that you're like, that was unnecessary. And it actually, I think to its detriment a little bit, it actually catches you off guard and kind of takes you out of whatever weird story this might be.
Right.
And then, but I did like the part where the scene here where he decides what the little boy's costume is going to be, the main character's costume, and he dresses him up just like as a businessman. And they actually gave him a name like Gary Stevenson. He's like, oh, is he like a famous businessman? Nope, just a suit.
Just a business. It's basically the equivalent of, I know I did this growing up, dressing up like a hobo. Like, I'll just wear some, ripped up jeans that I have, and, you know, I'll throw a pillowcase over my shoulder with a stick, and I'm a hobo.
Done.
So this is like, hey, grab Dad's suit and put it on. You'll be a businessman. Yeah,
I kind of want to now. I mean, this Halloween's already over, but I want to bring back generic costumes like that. Like, I'm going as a hobo this year, or just I'm Ghost. Like, unironically, I'm just a ghost. That's it. Sheet.
Yeah, you could probably get a few people just to go as like, hey, we're Wall Street guys.
Yeah, we just happen to own suits. Yeah,
you just have like, I don't know, you have suits and you have like a stack of money. You're like, yeah, we're Wall Street guys.
Yeah. So they go trick-or-treating. Everybody's getting a bunch of candy. However, there is this understory of the entire thing that gets talked about briefly earlier where there's this raincoat man. It's like a urban legend in this town that this old haunted house that's kind of run down, boarded up, has this old guy who wears a raincoat. Something happened where he died, but he's still a ghost, and his ghost lives there, and he terrorized the town every Halloween. So all the kids start suddenly missing all of their candy. They're out like trick-or-treating, and they're sitting on the curb, they're eating their candy, enjoying Halloween night, and then the ghost of Raincoat Man here actually shows up and steals all their candy. I gotta say right off the bat, they totally ruined this surprise of what they were going for here, this Scooby-Doo whodunit sort of thing. Yeah. Because right when it started happening, they start discussing, hey, Raincoat Man was here, and here at the same time, and here at the same time. Okay, so it's more than one person.
Yeah.
And you only mentioned 3 people. I wonder if it could be those 3 bully twin brothers from earlier. And then, dude, come back from commercial break. It's literally those 3 in those costumes eating the candy. Like, there was no build. It just was like, yep, here it is.
Yeah, I guess they're like, you know what we're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
You probably already guessed it was going to be them anyway.
I kind of feel like that is the tagline for this whole special, which is, you know what we're doing here. You know why this exists, so we're just gonna make it. So they have stolen all this candy. However, the main character wants to stand up for all the kids who are missing their candy, because it's not as good if you go buy it the next day, even when it's 50% off. So he convinces David S. Pumpkins and his sister they're gonna go break in this house. And it's, again, immediately spoiled that all these Raincoat Men are there, and one of their voice modulators messes up, and it's he's talking like a mouse, and it's funny that the 3 brothers are there, and they basically get the candy back from them. And it's like, okay, great. What do we do now? We're informed that the skeletons say we have to get back to the pumpkin patch by 10:34 p.m. Oh. again, just like a weird thing to be weird.
Yep.
Taking the trope of midnight and saying it's 10:34 instead. They've got like 10 more minutes or 14 more minutes or something that they've got to get all this candy back to these kids. David S. Pumpkins earlier in the episode had showed us what he can do with his magical powers, which is he can lift a pumpkin magically and move it anywhere he wants for a short duration before it just falls and breaks to the ground. He's literally the shittiest superhero that possibly can be associated with the holiday. But that's how everybody gets their candy back. They basically have him summon all of these pumpkins, these jack-o'-lanterns from all over the town. They put a bunch of candy in it, deliver it to the kids, meanwhile taking out all of the raisins, which, screw raisins. If you give kids raisins, you're a bad person.
Is that worse than pennies?
Mate, you got pennies?
I've seen money or change. Here's some change.
My least favorite of all time. Can you picture those popsicles you buy in like 100 packs that are just liquid tubes and you freeze them and you just cut off the top and kind of eat them out? They're like, I don't know, fruit flavored or something.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, those. A lady once just gave my sister and I those liquid pops, but they weren't frozen, just liquid popsicles that she hadn't frozen yet. That's what she gave us, so that was pretty bad. There was even a scene that was so much against these raisins, which was great. It was like, here's this giant pile of candy. Without a word, David S. Pumpkins walks up to it, grabs the raisins, throws them out the window to the moon. They explode on the moon. That's how like much he hates raisins.
Yeah.
Whoa! Look at all that candy.
Ew! Raisins!
How are we supposed to give all this candy back? Go to every single house in town? It'll take days.
And we have to be back at the pumpkin patch by 10:34 p.m.
What? Why?
That's how long the magic lasts.
Why am I just now hearing this? And why isn't it at like midnight?
Because, man!
Basically, then, David S. Pumpkins goes back to the pumpkin patch. We get the sad sort of end of the episode. They've saved the day. And he says, will we ever see you again? To which David S. Pumpkins, in his David S. Pumpkins way, takes this like long pause and says, nope, the elevator goes away. The episode ends. So that's the David S. Pumpkins Halloween special. I mean, it sounds like it's a one-off. I think, I'll tell you what I think in a moment. But Brad, as someone who like, you thought it was like the skit itself, the original skit last year was like fine, nothing like special. Why does this exist? Like, what do you think of the animated special?
Why does it exist? If this was Saturday Night Live, like, 3 years ago, I'd tell you they exist just to fill time. But, they have been doing well in the last, year because of politics and stuff. That they didn't need this to fill time. But I don't think, did this air on Saturday Night Live? Because it was long.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. And I'm pretty sure I don't know if it's like half of an episode or something, or I couldn't even tell you when the Saturday Night Live seasons are on.
Well, it's on, but there was commercials. Like this recording that we had.
Yeah, maybe commercials.
It was. So yeah, maybe it was on, but why it exists? Somebody just wanted to do it, and they were like, can we bring back David Pumpkins this year? And they're like, I guess, but we got to do something different. And they're like, no, he's the same. That's the point. I'm just thinking how this conversation went. They're like, no, we can't really do that. Like, that's just not that funny. So
I don't know.
Yeah, let's do a Charlie Brown sort of Great Pumpkin meets, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where I feel like they're just trying to capitalize on the viral success that this skit was, because, man, I don't know the last time an SNL skit or like character or like type of presentation they're giving has really crossed over into like mainstream pop culture in a long time. Honestly, the last time I can think of it is when Andy Samberg got big doing the digital shorts with like Dick in a Box and those videos, and those were going around. So David S. Pumpkins weirdly caught on, and I feel like they just went with it, and they're like, all right, let's make an animated special, sure. But overall, what did you think of, I guess, the special as a whole? Did this need to be a thing? Where does it fit in your like Halloween pantheon of cartoons.
The artwork is nice. It looked good. Like that's the thing. It looked really good, but the story, whatever. It's David Pumpkins. You can't. I don't think you want to fill it out that much.
Yeah.
If you're gonna watch a cartoon special, I think a fun one to watch is the Teen Titans one, where basically Santa comes to steal Halloween because he wants, he's trying to create a monopoly and make his holiday the best one. And it's sort of like, it's kind of like the reverse of Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, sort of like that. So I think that's a better cartoon Halloween episode to watch.
Or any Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors, probably.
Yeah, but this just exists in a world where I guess it's there, but we didn't need it. No.
I'm just picturing a kid who is like 4 years old, and this is the first animated like holiday special that they can remember that is going to stick in their minds, and they're going to be 30 years from now wondering, what was that Halloween special I used to watch every year? And I just don't see that character anymore. I'm not sure where he went or like anything. Like, yeah, it was David S. Pumpkins. It didn't need to exist.
Yeah, but now they've set this up where it's come back, for year number 2. I feel like it could continue to come back, especially now that they made it animated. It kind of sets them up to not need the special guest, them on set anymore. It's like, let's just bring it into animation. Could we also expand Saturday Night Live into like a Saturday morning live?
Ooh. Big business Brad over here thinking ideas.
What's the thought? And it creates this other we could have more cartoon digital shorts because Adult Swim does this all the time, and they just put stuff online. What if we had more animated content that we released online under Saturday Night Live?
It's not a bad idea, actually. Speaking of that stuff, and we've watched at least one show from the WWE Network, but they have a few other animated shows that are, it's the one I'm thinking of is wrestlers telling road stories, where like traveling stories, and then they animate those. I think there's probably room for that, and I actually don't think there's a whole lot of animation or any animation on Saturday Night Live these days. I think it's like a one-off if there ever is. Right. So,
and it's a very popular medium, especially as our millennial kind of age group has grown up with cartoons and understand it, and they want more of it. Even if it's a little adult humor, they're fine, still watching a cartoon.
Yeah. Man, this conversation got deeper than I thought it might. But I think it's fine. So the special in general, look, it looks nice. It's fine. It does not describe any more about David S. Pumpkins. If you were a fan like I was of the original skit last year, only a year ago. It does describe
he has magic powers.
Yeah, but that's about it. There's no it's like they know he was a vague character to begin with in last year's skit, and they're like, what if we make him vague, but like he has a little bit of magic? Like that's kind of what happened. So,
and we know his skeleton buddies are dead; they're ghosts.
Yeah, so that's all we know. And until next year, we may never know more. I feel like next year they pull a like whatever Halloween episode they do. They just have a guy in a David S. Pumpkins suit, and somebody says, "Oh, you're David S. Pumpkins," and they say, "What? Who?" Like I don't know what you're talking about. I just like the suit.
Yeah.
Like a one-off to be like, okay, we went overboard on the David S. Pumpkins thing. So, so that's going to cover this week's episode on Halloween of Toon Talk Weekly, the David S. Pumpkins Halloween special. Check it out. I know that there's at least a trailer online for free, but since it did air on NBC and on Saturday Night Live, you might have to go to their website to see it, or maybe it's on Hulu too. So
it might be on Hulu, yeah.
I know I just recorded it from cable, so... Well, if it's out there if you wanted a Halloween fix for some of these things. So let's get out of here.
Expect the video version to get flagged and be up a few days later.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, wait till next week and it'll be up. Brad, where can people find out more about you when you're not recording Toon Talk Weekly?
Best place, you can follow me on Twitter. That's @brad. And then my blog is digitalhitchhiker.com.
Cool, guys, go check them out there. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Williams. And if you want more Toon Talk Weekly or any of our other content, we're on Twitter at Toon Talk Weekly, Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. We're over on Google Plus as Toon Talk Weekly as well. Our email, if you want to let us know what you thought of the David S. Pumpkins animated Halloween special, which is basically me telling you need to watch it because I need to know that other souls have seen this. Email us at toontalkweekly@gmail.com. And finally, the main hub for the site, for the show, toontalkweekly.com, has all the episodes alphabetically for you on the homepage. If you want to check out any of our other stuff. If you want more Halloween episodes, definitely recommend our Simpsons when we covered Treehouse of Horror. I think that was year 1. That was probably like month 3 or 4. The other one I was thinking of, what is the show? We just watched a kids show recently that there's a bat in a crap.
Chalk? Was it Chalk Zone? No.
It wasn't Chalk Zone, and God, I'm never going to be able to remember it, but it was like kind of Halloween themed, but I can't remember. I feel like the show, was it Just Incredible? Was that what it was called? I feel like the show was not, Just in Time Go.
Yeah, because he like finds a bat.
Yep.
But they had to feed strawberries too.
So, maybe the strawberries thing. It's all right. Full circle here. So Just in Time Go was another one that was, I don't know that it was necessarily supposed to be Halloween themed, but I do know they went out on Halloween. So that was another recent fun one. If you want more Halloween themed episodes, I'd recommend checking out those.
Did we record an episode with the Great Pumpkin?
No, we did Charlie Brown Christmas, maybe?
Okay.
We did Charlie Brown something. I can't remember which one. Definitely not Thanksgiving, because nobody ever talks about Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
No.
Cool. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. We will be back once again next week, same time, Tuesdays, with another cartoon.
Take care.
To learn more about the show, visit toontalkweekly.com or follow us on Twitter at Toon Talk Weekly.